In this video, we'll explain the transactional model of emotion dysregulation, a powerful framework for understanding how emotional distress can build and escalate in our relationships, especially within families. This video was written by Dr. Alan Fruzzetti, a psychologist, DBT therapist, teacher, and supervisor, who developed this model to help people recognize and interrupt the patterns that lead to conflict, disconnection, and emotional suffering. Relationships can be our greatest source of joy and also our deepest sources of pain. In fact, interpersonal conflict is frequently at the root of our suffering, triggering intense, unwanted, and unhelpful emotions and leading to ineffective behaviors that aren't good for ourselves, aren't good for the other person, and often damage the relationship. That is why Dr. Fruzzetti developed the transactional model of emotion dysregulation. Now that title may sound a bit technical, but simply put, this model helps us understand how interactions between people can lead to emotional distress. It shows why we sometimes get stuck in cycles of misunderstanding, conflict, and distance, and more importantly, how we can break those patterns to create connection, better understanding, and even joy. Now, before we get started, we want to recognize that this model looks complicated at first. You might be feeling overwhelmed by the prospect of understanding it. Don't worry, in this video, we'll break down the model step by step to make it clear. Then, in the next video, we'll walk through a practical example of how to break this cycle. Let's start by defining emotion dysregulation. All emotions are reactions to what's happening around us. Primary emotions like fear, anger, sadness, and joy are built-up signals that help us respond effectively. They're adaptive, meaning they exist for a reason and help us survive. For example, fear tells us a situation might be dangerous and pushes us to either freeze, run, or do things, often forcefully, to make the situation safe. Because primary emotions are universal, they also communicate to others what we need, like support, protection, and validation. But emotions don't always stay simple. Sometimes our thoughts, experiences, and judgments, or interpretations, add extra layers to them. These secondary emotions are shaped by how we interpret a situation or judge our own feelings. For example, you might feel ashamed of your anger, guilty for feeling sad, or anxious about feeling anxious. While primary emotions tend to pass or go down on their own because they direct us to effective actions, secondary emotions can keep us stuck, making feelings more intense and even overwhelming. When emotions hit a tipping point, they can hijack our ability to think clearly. It's like our emotional system takes over, drowning out logic and making everything feel unbearable. This is emotion dysregulation. In this state, our focus shifts to escaping the emotional pain as fast as possible, without considering the consequences. We lose balance, forget our goals and values, and react in ways we normally wouldn't. Dysregulated emotions can push us to say things we regret, lash out at people we care about, act impulsively, misuse substances, drive recklessly, and even engage in self-harm. And while these actions might offer brief relief, numbing out or escaping the moment, they don't actually solve anything. In fact, they usually make things worse in the long run. Now that we're clear on what dysregulation means, let's walk through the transactional model. The first word, transaction here, just means that what one person does has an impact on the other, and what the other person does has an impact on the first person. There's no money involved. This can be a healthy transaction that leads to joy and connection, or a problematic transaction that leads to emotional distress and relationship conflict and distance. Every negative cycle begins with an event that is experienced as negative. It could be something like an argument, a stressful experience, or even something seemingly small, like a missed text message or someone's angry or blaming voice or tone. This event triggers an emotional reaction, and from there, things can start to spiral. Of course, positive cycles unfold in a completely different way. How we respond to a negative event is shaped by our vulnerabilities. These could be biological sensitivities, like being tired or hungry, past experiences that have conditioned how we respond, or even just how overwhelmed we are that day already. Sometimes a situation reminds us of a past experience, triggering emotions that don't fully belong to the present moment. High vulnerabilities increase the chances of emotional dysregulation, while lower vulnerabilities, or resilience, make it less likely. Vulnerabilities don't cause dysregulation, but they set the stage for how we react. When vulnerabilities pile up, emotions intensify, sometimes becoming much stronger than what seems proportional to the situation. This is where dysregulation can begin. It might last only a few seconds or stretch out for minutes, depending on the intensity of the emotion and how we handle it. And when emotions are high, we start to make judgments about ourselves or others. We might think things like, I shouldn't be feeling this way. That person is a jerk, or they're so unfair. Judgments make emotions stronger and harder to manage, and risk dysregulation. Instead of understanding what's happening, we add more fuel to the fire. Interestingly, when our emotions really run high, we lose our ability to think in a complex or balanced way. Even if we weren't judgmental at first, everything can suddenly feel black and white, right or wrong, good or bad, without the usual nuance we're capable of. In other words, dysregulated emotions fuel judgments, and judgments fuel more dysregulated emotions. It's a nasty cycle that can be really hard to break. As emotions spiral out of control, our actions become dysregulated too. This is when we might yell, withdraw, slam doors, misuse substances, or in some cases, engage in self-harm or other impulsive and problematic actions. Basically, we are not in control of our actions, at least for those moments. Dysregulated actions can be confusing to others because they don't clearly communicate what we're feeling, what happened, or the deeper emotions driving our pain. We might express only anger instead of hurt, frustration instead of fear. This makes it hard for others to understand what's actually going on. When our expression is unclear, intense, or impulsive, it may push people away instead of drawing them in. In response, others may not understand what's really going on. They might dismiss our feelings, get irritated, or react defensively, not necessarily because they don't care, but because they're confused, overwhelmed, or unsure how to respond. This invalidating response can feel like rejection, making us even more distressed and dysregulated. And when we're already struggling, feeling unheard or misunderstood only makes it harder to calm down. And let's be real, who actually enjoys being invalidated? No one walks away from repeated invalidation thinking, wow, what a great day. It's painful. It creates distance. It makes us feel alone. The key thing to remember is that this is not a one-way street. The arrows go both ways. Family or relationship distress makes individual distress worse, and individual distress creates more problems in the relationship. Notice that the person doing the invalidating in the diagram isn't just acting in a vacuum. They have their own negative emotions, judgments, and vulnerabilities shaped by their past experiences and conditioning. Their emotional state might be influenced by things that happened earlier in the day, or their reaction could be fueled by the first person's intense or inaccurate expression of emotion. While someone can be emotionally regulated while invalidating another, they're often already dysregulated or heading in that direction. When a loved one says, "You're a jerk," it is very difficult to imagine what the original event was and what their primary emotion was. All they can convey is anger or contempt, not love and hurt feelings or other emotions. This is a cycle that can feel impossible to escape. Yet it's not. Yay, we can do something. In fact, many things, to steer this cycle in the opposite direction, towards reduced negative emotions and reduced ugly conflict at first, and eventually even to understanding and connection, and even sometimes towards collaborating to solve problems. Understanding this model helps us see where we can intervene, where we can shift our responses to break the cycle and create opportunities for genuine connection. Each box that contributes to the problem has potential solutions. We're going to explore a few of these in the next video.